Hello and welcome to the Art Class Curator podcast. I am Cindy Ingram, your host and the founder of Art Class Curator and the Curated Connections Library. We're here to talk about teaching art with purpose and inspiration, from the daily delights of creativity to the messy mishaps that come with being a teacher. Whether you're driving home from school or cleaning up your classroom for the 15th time today, take a second, take a deep breath, relax those shoulders, and let's get started. Hi everybody, it's Cindy Ingram from Art Class Curator, and today on the podcast we are going to talk about our brand new SPARKworks lessons. Well, they're not actually brand new, they have a new name, but we do have some new features to them as well. So we're going to go through, talk about the philosophy of what a SPARKwork lesson is. We're going to walk through what they look like step by step. Throughout this episode, you're going to get tips on how to use these sorts of lessons in your classroom. And really, we're going to talk about some of the foundational elements of why we do things the way that we do at Art Class Curator, and why, the way that we present lessons and the way that we teach is different than you're going to find anywhere else. So over the last many months, I have been working on writing a book. It's very exciting. I am really, really loving it now that I've gotten into it, and now that I really know which direction the book is going. And one of the things I've been thinking about a great deal is, what is it that connects me so deeply with works of art? Why can I have this deep connection? Why am I so passionate about it? And what value has it added into my life? And one of the things that I've come to realize just very recently is that this connection to works of art, this powerful personal connection that I have, is my magic. It is something that is just infused in every cell of who I am. And it is really important to me to share that with the world. I think that when you have something that you know to be true and that you know is so important to you and so beneficial to the world, you just want to share it. And so that's really how it all began for me. Is I recognized that magic very early on and just leaned into it and followed it and let it bloom and let it blossom and let it become what has now become this amazing business that I've created that gets to help students and teachers from across the world and share that magic with them. And so when I hear people say like, oh, Art Class Curator is about art history or something like that, I kind of bristle a little bit because I'm like, no, it is not. It's not that. It's so much different. It's so much deeper than just art history. And so it's been really fun to really work on pinpointing exactly what it is. What is that connection that I have to art? And how can other people have that connection too? And how do we get our students to also have that connection? And so I do understand why people think we're about art history, because that's really how I got started. Before I really fully understood what I was doing and the deeper meaning behind what I was doing, I did think it was more about art history. I would teach art history, I would do it in creative ways, and when I've started the Curated Connections Library, it came out of me having all of those art history lessons that I'd worked so hard on creating and sharing them with the world and putting them into that membership site. But as I continued to work on it, as I continued to think about it, as I continued to write about it, as I continued to travel and experience more and more and more works of art, I realized that it was not that. That's not what it was, and that wasn't my magic. Teaching art history creatively is something I'm good at, but that's not where the magic lies. The magic really lies in the art and in the art connection. And so starting back in September of 2017, we started doing what we call Artwork of the Week bundles. And in those, you get, one artwork and you get a full lesson of discussion questions, engaging activities, project extensions, art projects that relate to that artwork, and, all the stuff you need with it. And so we've been releasing these bundles since then. And they've gotten more and more elaborate over the years. The early ones, you can tell, are definitely not as fleshed out as the new ones. The new ones have a lot more information, a lot more activities, a lot more ideas, and they're they've just gotten better and better and better. So what the Curated Connections Library has become is not about just art history and teaching art history. It's a membership that is focused on art connection. It's focused on that magic that we have with works of art and that magic that we can give to our students as well. So this membership, the Curated Connections Library, has a lot of different goals. And those goals are, number one, is to share the love and that magic of art connection with our students. And so we do that through a lot of amazing activities, discussions, important topics that need to be discussed and picked apart. And there's a lot of other goals that are wrapped up in that magic, but the number one thing is that magic. And so our other goals that are sort of circling that magic and are really kind of the byproducts of that magic are, one, developing a lifelong relationship to works of art. We are teaching students that art is there for them. At any wherever they are in life, art is there for them. And these artworks that we introduce to them become companions that they can take with them through their life. They become memories that they can refer to and remember and connect to as they're accomplishing new things in their lives, as they go and become adults and into their futures. These sorts of lessons are also really working on developing the whole student outside of just the academic success, outside of just techniques and skills and things like that. We're looking at the full student. We're looking at their social and emotional learning. We're looking at their communication skills. We're looking at their visual literacy and their critical thinking skills. We're looking at their ability to have deep conversations and meaningful conversations about things that matter. And, all of that is wrapped up in the magic of that art connection, and that those things just naturally happen when we deeply connect with works of art. And we're also talking about the goals of the membership are also to help you as a teacher with your joy and your satisfaction in teaching. I had a podcast episode a few weeks ago with Jennifer Easterling, and we talked about powerful art stories that we've had in our classroom and things that we've seen our students benefit from with these lessons. And that lights you up as a teacher or reminds you of who you are. And that magic that we experience, I'm going to say the word magic a lot today, apparently, but that magic that we experience connecting with the work of art and the magic we experience teaching that work of art to our students, that fuels our love and our joy and our purpose of teaching. And also, these lessons in the membership help your student engagement. It helps them be more invested in art class. It helps you develop better relationships with them when you have these conversations with them, and that will improve your classroom management. It will improve your relationships with your students and your buy-in overall to your curriculum from your students. And these aren't the only goals of the membership, but as we're looking at and talking about these types of lessons, I want you to know that it is something much deeper than just saving you time or adding some new ideas into your classroom, that this is a movement. This is spreading light and magic into the world. And when you look at it through that lens, I think that you can see what sort of power these artworks have for you and for your students. And so one of the things that we really realized in the pandemic of the last year is that, we realized what matters. We realized who matters in our relationship. We realized what we don't like and what we do like. We realized what we need in our lives versus what we want in our lives versus what we're doing but we don't actually want to do. And, all of that stuff that we learned, now we're poised to take it into the future and create these meaningful experiences and existences that now transcend the day-to-day and now add in that magic into our normal lives. And I think that the pandemic just taught us so much about ourselves. And so we're in a situation now where, we're ready for reconnection when so many of us felt so disconnected over the last year, ready to jump back into our teaching with new vigor and with new energy. And that one of the things that you can do to do that is to have connections with works of art and share those connections with the people around you, including your students. And most importantly, probably your students after yourself. Yourself is the most important thing. So we've been releasing these new lessons every month since September of 2017. And we've called them the Artwork of the Week bundles. And now they are going to be called, from here on out, they're going to be called SPARKworks. And what a SPARKwork is, and where that name came from, is, we have been using the Spark Art Criticism Framework for the last couple years, and you can get that at artclasscurator.com/spark. We recently did Reclaim Your Classroom, where we went through and kind of used that Spark framework in our Spark hybrid learning curriculum last year that we created specifically for the pandemic. And as we were planning to figure out what the future was for Spark and what the future was for the membership, the Curated Connections Library, we realized that both of those things are very similar in scope. Spark was more straightforward in terms of, you were given a certain number of lessons for week by week, whereas the membership is a little bit more, you get a lot more and you get a lot more flexibility. So what we decided to do was to combine the Spark hybrid learning curriculum into the Curated Connections Library. And so what that means is that now the SPARKworks have some new features, including we are adding in videos like the Spark hybrid learning curriculum had, short videos that your students can watch to get some basic thoughts and ideas about the artwork, usually after you've done the activities, because we don't want to give them any information before they've had the chance to come up with the information for themselves. And then we've also added in a community feature, which will let you go in and post student work samples. You can go and talk about how it went. You can make suggestions on, what went well, what didn't go well. You can add all of that in within the membership, which will help build that community resources feel. And we've also added in elementary lessons. So we've traditionally had just secondary, and that, if you want elementary, you just have to modify down a little bit. And just like I said in last week's episode, that you don't want to, a lot of teachers tend to underestimate what their students are capable of. So instead of saying, just modify down, I promise you it works just as well, we are now providing specific elementary lessons just for your younger kids. So we have now the new lessons have 2 lesson plans per artwork, one of them with elementary that has specific K-2 activities and specific 3-5 activities, and then the secondary lesson, which is middle and high school. So we're super excited about all of these new developments. So let's go through and talk about what a SPARKwork is and what makes it so magical. So these lessons are developed on our Curated Connections framework, which is curate, discuss, engage, and extend. We pick a work of art, that's our curate step. Then we discuss it in our classroom. We do the engaging activities. We do an art project that's related to it. And, it's a full comprehensive learning experience for your students. Everything feels really cohesive, but it's also really flexible. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, how you can take these lessons and add them into your curriculum. If you always love to do this one project with your 4th graders, now you have this resource of over 175 artworks to choose from that you can plug in. So if you're doing this project on, color mixing, you can look through, you can filter the SPARKworks and find one that shows a good use of color. And that is something that is really easy and flexible to use, especially in our brand new redesign of the membership site. So let's go through these steps of a SPARKwork, the steps of the Curated Connections framework, and kind of talk about some of the main considerations that you want to think about when doing this sort of lesson with your classroom. And at the end, I'll talk to you a little bit more about how to access your Curated Connections library and what options we have available to you right now. So our first step is curate, and that is a really, really important step. Now, you can take just about any work of art pick it off the internet, throw it up in front of your classroom, and your kids are going to find something awesome to say about it. Kids are so good at talking about art, reflecting art, coming up with cool interpretations, noticing things that you would never noticed. They're so good at that. But when you really intentionally pick a work of art that you know your students are going to like, you've crossed so many hurdles already. You're picking a good work of art is going to help with your student engagement. It's going to help with your classroom management. When the students are excited about what they're looking at, when their curiosity is piqued, you automatically have students who are interested in what you're presenting. So picking a really amazing and relevant work of art. So we use what we call the 4 C's, and that's you want to pick an artwork that's captivating, that captures their attention really quickly. You want to pick an artwork that's communicative, that has sort of stories and messages to be found. There's things that you can pick apart. And meanings to be found. You also want it to be complex. So yes, it's communicating a story or a message or something, but that it's communicating more than one, that there's many different directions that you can go with the artwork. That's complex. And then the last one is connected. Is it the right art for your kids? And I think that is one that's kind of underlooked as I see art teachers talk about what art they're showing their kids. And, even sometimes we'll be like, well, why don't you have a lesson on this, X famous man artist, white male artist. And we're like, well, it's not that we don't like that white male artist, but it's, we want to have many other opportunities and many other voices represented. So, if you're only showing Monet's, Van Gogh's, Da Vinci's, Picasso's, just the famous guys, you're leaving out so much beauty and rich magic out there in the world. I'll be first to tell you that Picasso's magic is what caused me to even say this word magic in the first place. Like, that is where I learned that art was magic. But, there's so much more art available and so much that your students can connect to. So when you're picking works of art, pick topics that are relevant to your kids, that are from cultures that represent your kids, races, genders that represent your kids. And what's great about the Curated Connections Library is we do have over 170 works of art available, and they're filterable. So you can filter by gender, you can filter by part of the world where they're from, you can filter by element or principle of art, you can filter by what art form it is, so sculpture, photography, architecture, digital art, that sort of thing. You can filter by time period. So do you want something from now? Do you want something from, ancient art? Those are all the things that you can filter by. And we also have a special interest category. You can filter by ones that are just in the art history 250 for AP. You can filter by LGBTQ artists. There's a lot of different things that you can filter by to find the right artwork for your kids. Once you've picked your work of art, you've gone on to the Curated Connections Library, you've filtered, you've searched, you've pinned down what you want, you've bookmarked it in the site, it has that capability, then you can download all of the resources for that lesson. And so with our lessons, we have a lesson plan, which includes your discussion questions, your talking points about the artwork, your biography of the artist or the culture, the all of the learning activities, obviously, the resources, the learning styles that are covered, the list of all your handouts, that sort of thing, are all in that lesson plan. And then you also get all of your worksheets that you might need. So say there's a compare and contrast activity where you're going to compare one artwork with another one from a different culture. That's in there ready to go with both of the images already on there and easy to print, easy to go and download and use in your classroom. Everything is also editable. So we have both Microsoft Office versions, doc versions, PDF versions, and then new also with the new site is Google Doc versions as well. So lots of ways to download these files so that they are ready to go. And then also you get a PowerPoint. So the artwork's ready to throw up on your screen and you're ready to go. And new lessons are also getting videos. So not all of the lessons have videos, but we do have videos for everything that was in the Spark Hybrid Learning curriculum. So I think there's at least 30 of the artworks have videos, and then all new ones from here on out have videos as well. So in your next step, so you've downloaded your files, you're ready to do your lesson, we have the discuss section. And now sometimes you want to do your activity before you do your discussion. Sometimes you want to do your discussion before you do your activity. But, that's up to you to do. But we're going to talk about it in the order of the Curated Connections framework. And our first step is discuss. Now, I have done many, many trainings online on how to lead an art discussion. And in the membership, the Curated Connections Library, you will find those trainings. So there's webinars, recordings on how to lead an art discussion. There is past programs that we've done. And also what we have in the membership is called the Art Appreciation Masterclass. Now, that was before I started calling it Art Connection, not Art Appreciation. So I need to change the name of that eventually. I just have not gotten there yet. So in the Art Appreciation Masterclass, we go through all these teaching methods. We talk about how to lead a discussion. We talk about how to analyze the elements or principles of a work of art. We talk about how to, all the different types of activities that you can do with works of art. It's a 16 lesson course, and each of the videos of that lesson are 3 to 5 minutes. It's a total of about 3 hours. You can kind of binge it, get the full foundation teaching methods before you do these lessons, and then you'll be ready to go. And then in your discussion, I'm not going to repeat all of my discussion techniques, but you can really, the goal of your art discussion is to make it really open-ended. And you're not doing a discussion for the purpose of teaching the art history, or for teaching about the work of art, or for teaching about the artist. That's going to be woven in. That's going to happen naturally. It's going to happen, where it fits. But your goal really is more about the exploration. It's more about the ideas. It's more about that process of discovery that happens with the works of art. It's more about the conversation, the insights, the relationships, the relationship between you and the student, the relationship between you and the artwork, the relationship between the students and the artwork, the relationship between the students and each other and the artwork. All of that, that's the magic. The magic is not, this was painted by Frida Kahlo, and she was born in such and such a year, and she died in such and such a year, and this is what her life was like. That is interesting information, absolutely. I'm not saying don't include that, but that's not the magic. That's not what's going to stick with them forever. And that is a way into connecting with the artwork, and there are ways to bring that in authentic ways, but know that that's not the goal. The goal is something a little bit more intangible. And you might feel a little bit worried about leading an art discussion, and you might feel a little bit fearful if you've never really led this sort of discussion. Your first time, it's going to be a little, it might feel a little weird and a little awkward, but just know that it gets easier, it gets better. You're going to start to realize how powerful it is. And once you're hooked on that magic, you're going to understand it. But at first, it might be a little bit challenging. But we're here for that. And we have trainings in there to help you through, some of those barriers, especially like, what do you do with certain types of kids and that sort of thing? Like, what about your shy kids? What about your kids bouncing off the walls? Like, what about those, all of the different types of kids? What if the one that wants to raise their hand 100 times? All of that is in that training in the membership that you can learn from and think about. But really, just give it a shot. Try it. It'll go better than you think it will go. I promise you that. But the more you do it, the more you'll realize. And what I love and what really hooks me on this is that I can all day long with every class talk about the same work of art. In every class period, I learned something new. Every class period, some kid says something that I never heard before. And I'm like, I've been talking about this artwork for years and I've never heard anyone have that idea. And that's so exciting. The energy is really exciting around that. And you even notice things that you never noticed before. Like especially with artworks you've seen a lot, you kind of get blinders to them. You just notice them, and then you've looked at them so many times that you stop really paying attention. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, there is a dragon in this artwork that I've never seen. That's the one that I noticed. It was a Bronzino painting. Yeah, the painting is an allegory with Venus and Cupid by Bronzino. And when I saw this painting for the first time in London, I had never once noticed that this girl in the background was half human, half dragon. I was like, how did I never notice that? And that, it always happens. Sometimes it's big things like someone is a legit dragon, but other times, it's something really small and you're like, oh, wow, I've never seen it from that perspective. Because really, when you're looking at works of art, everybody is bringing themselves to it. And that is also part of the magic, is that the art changes depending on who's looking at it, because no one is the same. And so what you're looking at is something different than what you're looking through your own lens, and you can only see through your own lens. And so this gives you glimpses into other people's lenses. So it's just so fun. Okay. All right. So next, we got our artwork, curate, we've discuss, and now we're going to head into engage. And this is where the fun is. And this is where you get to be really fun and creative. And you don't have to come up with these activities. We've come up with them for you. And all of the SPARKwork lessons, there's at least 3 different activities. Sometimes there's more that you can take and connect with the works of art. And so when you pull one of these lessons, we're not telling you, do everything on this list. We want you to do all of these activities, all of these extensions, all of the, that's not what that's for. What it's for is we want you to have the flexibility to choose the right activity for you. So when you look through the engaging activities, you could do all of them. You could make a whole class period of it. You could do 2 class periods of this, or you can say, okay, I'm going to pick this one. This is where I think my students are going to be really, really resonate with this one. And so I'm going to choose that one. So this is built to be really highly flexible, because everybody that works for me and myself included, we don't like really prescriptive lessons. We like to be able to pick and choose. We like to be able to make it our own. And so they're very, very flexible. So in your engage step, that's when you're doing all sorts of creative activities with the works of art. And so those activities could come from a lot of places. So when you're looking at a work of art, you can look at the form of it. And what kind of activities could you do to really analyze the elements and principles of art? Maybe you map out the composition lines. Maybe you cut it up and you only analyze small bits. Maybe you use our elements and principles analysis worksheets and you focus only on texture. You talk about notice all the texture and what is that texture trying to say. And so it really is, there's a lot of ways in. So that's the form. You could also look at, of course, the theme and the meaning. So you're looking for the big ideas in it, or you're looking at the story, or you're looking at the cultural relevance or the context. There's a lot of ways in, or the social issues that are represented, or there's personal connections that you can find. So these activities range from group activities to whole class activities to one-on-one activities. There's poetry writing, there's kinesthetic connections, there's games. There's the 12 heavenly generals from China, and each one is in these really dramatic poses, and we have a little card game that we developed with those generals. There's a lot of writing exercises and different things. There's like pretend that the artwork is on Instagram, what the caption would be, what we called it Artstagram. If the characters had Twitter accounts, what would their tweets be like? Lots of different ways to connect with these works of art that are fun, that are engaging. They're going to get you to think about it in new ways, and your students are going to have really memorable, positive experiences. Another great thing about these engaged lessons is that they are so good for your administration to see you do. We love when an administrator walks in when we're doing one of these activities, because they can see it. They can see the excitement and the energy in the classroom. They can see the engagement. They can see the students writing and thinking and processing and theorizing. They can see those critical thinking skills happening in real time. And it's really powerful for the administrators to see that art is not just arts and crafts. We're not just like gluing buttons on and sequins to a paper. We are doing real work, and we're thinking hard, and there's a lot to it. Your administrator also really loves to see those writing samples up on the wall in the hallway. It really is advocacy for your own program and for your professionalism as a teacher. It's really powerful for your administrators to see this. The 4th step in our framework is create. And in the create step, that's where our art projects happen. And I think there is probably a common misconception about Art Class Curator is that it's all about art history and art appreciation and not about art making. But we do have art making in the membership, and that's where it is in your SPARKworks lesson. It's in the create section. And in this case, we are learning to connect artworks to projects. So artworks alone work fine. Like if you decided to do like an artwork of the week, and every Friday you look at a work of art, it doesn't have to be related to your projects, but it's something you introduce every single week. Or you could pick artworks that relate to the projects that you're doing, and you use the Curated Connections Library to infuse your already created lessons with more art connection experiences. Or you can take these SPARKworks lessons and do them in full and pick one of the projects. So each one usually has a couple different projects that you can do that is related to, again, it could be related to the theme, it could be related to the elements and principles or the technique or, any number of things. It's never going to be a copycat. We're never going to say, hey, okay, now paint some haystacks. Look at this Monet haystacks. And then now you're going to paint some haystacks. No, it's not going to be about that. So if we're looking at Monet, we're going to talk about the light, and we're going to do something about the light or maybe his style or his technique. We're not just going to go paint replicas of his paintings. And, as I said earlier, the flexibility is really important for us and for teachers. And this is where your expertise of being an art teacher and being an artist yourself comes in. And we know that all art teachers love that process of creating new projects and new ideas. And so we've given you the starting spot for that, but they're not sort of step by step, do this, do this, do this, do this. These are more, getting you going, giving you the basic structure of the lesson. And then, you guys know how to turn that into a day-by-day experience. We don't do a day-by-day lesson plan because every single teacher has a completely different experience. You have 90-minute classes versus 50-minute classes versus 30-minute classes versus 25-minute classes. I've heard that too. You see them twice a week, once a week, 5 times a week. You see them once a day for 6 weeks and then not at all. There's so many different versions of schedules. So we don't give you a day-by-day project, but they are projects that are interesting, relevant, connected, and using the artwork as the foundation and then the jumping off point, but not a copy of it. So having said all of that, you can really imagine, if you haven't done a lesson like these lessons, these SPARKworks lessons, they have so much power. You can see it, you can feel it. The energy of your classroom changes when you introduce students to works of art. They will connect with them. They will enjoy them. They will have meaningful art education, and they will learn to be artists, they will learn to be thinkers, they will learn to be humans, and they will learn to feel their feelings and be able to have conversations and have so many cool memories of your class, as a cherry on top. So you might be wondering, how do I join? And you do that by going to artclasscurator.com/join. And we are currently relaunching the membership. It has this brand new design, all these cool features. Oh, so pretty. It's so good. I love it. And our current price is the same price that we've had for several years. And we haven't raised the price in quite a long time. And so this week until August the 12th, you'll be able to be grandfathered into the current price, the price that we've had for the last several years. And, if you stay a member, you never will get once you're locked into your membership, you're never going to get an increase unless you cancel and rejoin. So now is a great time to join at the beginning of the year when you're really working on creating the plan for this year. And now is a great time because you're going to get that grandfathered pricing. The other thing that we're doing this year that is brand new is we now have a 2-tiered membership. So we have two tiers. One of them is the gallery level and the other one is the museum level. So you can kind of guess what's happening there. In your gallery level, that is your low tier option. And it is an introductory price of only $19 a month. And with that membership, you get every month you get the 4 new SPARKworks lessons. So we're really looking at what's going on in the world. They're also very diverse collection. So we make sure that we have women represented every month. We make sure we have cultures around the world represented. Every month it's a highly diverse group of artworks that you receive. So in the gallery level, you get those 4 artworks. You can go in anytime in the month and pull those out, download them. And then when the new month comes, the last ones go away and the new ones show back up. So you'll just go back in, download your new ones, and then they'll go back away at the end of the next month, and they'll come, and your new ones are going to come back. So that's what you will have access to in your gallery level membership. And so if you want a really easy solution, if you want to just, you don't want to be overwhelmed by all the options, you don't need all the filtering. You're like, I just want to show the art to my students. I don't want to think too hard about what I'm bringing in. You can just take these, and these are the ones you do that month. And it makes it really easy, and it's a really low cost option for you as well. Now, if you want everything, including all of the trainings, all of the art history lessons that I talked about that were from the past, and all 175 plus SPARKworks lessons, including all that amazing filtering options, including the places to put your student work and your notes and the bookmarking and, all of that stuff. That's where you want the museum level membership, because you get everything. It doesn't go away month after month, just new ones are added, and you still have access to the whole catalog. So that, again, is been $39 a month for the past 2 years. And starting after August 12th, the price will go up. And, if it were completely up to me, I would love for your school district to pay for your membership. That is, ideal situation. That's what we want to happen. You can go to artclasscurator.com/schools. There's a form to fill out, and you can get an estimate. You can get a brochure and a letter to your administrator about the curriculum. We have all of that stuff for you at artclasscurator.com/schools. But, if you do have to pay out of pocket for this, I want you to kind of think about breaking down the cost of this and thinking about how much you get paid and how much time this is going to save you. I know I said, to me, it's not this time-saving element of this, I think, is important. And I think, teachers need everywhere. They need to save time wherever they can, because teaching just takes over your life. But, if you think about it, if you're getting 4 new lessons per month, and you have saved yourself a bunch of planning time. The average teacher salary in the United States is $59,346, and teachers work 187 days of the year. And so that comes to about $317 a day that you make. And you divide that $317 by 8 hours. So you're making about $39 an hour. That, I did not plan that. I swear, I did not plan that. That is the exact cost of the membership. That was lucky. I have to tell you, that was really lucky. But so the average teacher makes $39 an hour. So that is 1 hour of your salary that you're getting back. That's 1 hour per month that you're using for your membership. And that's going to save you way more than 1 hour, because you have saved yourself lesson planning at least, 1 day of every week you've got planned. Then if you use the art projects and the extensions and you use those lessons to the fullest, you've got most of your class covered through that 1 hour payment. The coffee comparison is so overused, but I think about myself as, I'll spend $39 on Uber Eats once a week. And that lasts, 30 minutes while I eat it? I guess the energy I get after I eat it for a couple hours. I get that too. But, $39 to spend on so many resources that you can use immediately in your classroom. It's ready to go. And especially if you do the gallery plan, that costs about, half an hour of your pay per month goes to get those resources for yourself. But like I said, it's not just about the time. Think about this as giving yourself a gift. This is a gift to yourself. It is self-care. We talked about in a few episodes back, the blood, sweat, and tears mentality about how you have to work hard and you have to struggle and and how that is impacting your self-care. This is a preventative self-care measure by giving yourself these lessons to help your classroom. It's giving yourself a gift of less stress, more time, less time spent overthinking, more clarity, better relationships with your students, focus on student relationships, not only because the lessons themselves are so connected, but you're freeing up more time to spend connecting with your students. You're giving yourself more time for yourself, more time for your own art making. And this feeds your creative side. It connects you. All of those works of art, yes, are great for your students, but you also get to learn about them. I've had retired teachers say, I kept my membership because I just really enjoyed learning about these works of art every month. You're giving yourself that gift of art connection. You're giving that gift to your students. And it's a powerful, magical place to be. The wonderful feeling that you feel after you've taught a really powerful lesson, after you've made a difference in your students. You feel it. You have. That just gives me chills just to think about, because it's such a powerful thing, and it's that magic of art connection that you're spreading into the world with these SPARKworks lessons. So it's really powerful for you, really powerful for your students, really powerful for your administration to see what's happening. And it's really powerful for the world. These artworks are going to ripple. These art experiences are going to ripple. They're going to have unseen effects years in the future. And that you don't know what's going to happen, but you know in your heart that they will, because they're that meaningful and that powerful. And I know I'm speaking very dramatically, but I 100% believe it to be true. Art changes people and people change the world. My favorite quote by John Butler, because it's true. And we can change the world one student at a time, one artwork at a time, one lesson at a time. And you know that to be true as a teacher. But that's what we're here to do at Art Class Curator. We're not here to save you time. We're not here to make your job easier, though we do that. We're here to change the world. We're here to make magic, and we're here to connect deeply with ourselves, deeply with our students, and deeply with works of art. So thank you so much for listening. And like I said, the membership price will be going up after August 12th, but the membership is staying open. It's not closing. So you can join anytime you want at artclasscurator.com/join. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again next week. Bye. When you're a teacher, one thing is certain: the lesson planning never ends. The Curated Connections Library is here to help with hundreds of art connection lessons and activities. Our signature SPARKworks lessons include everything you need to teach an artwork every single week. Each lesson features one diverse and captivating work of art and is complete with discussion questions, engaging activities to create deeper art connections, and related art project ideas. With unique worksheets and PowerPoint presentations, every lesson is classroom ready. Get your free SPARKworks lesson and take a break from lesson planning by going to artclasscurator.com/free lesson. Thank you so much for listening to the Art Class Curator podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and give us an honest rating on iTunes to help other teachers find us and hear these amazing art conversations and art teacher insights. Be sure to tune in next week for more art inspiration and curated conversations.